more difficult position in the world because they have two players just focus on him, and now rarely have an extra more. So it's not easy to do that. So I would like to see.
The transfer window is heating up, and there's three names, actually three strikers that keep getting brought up. Is it Viktor Gyökeres? Is it Benjamin Sesko? Or Hugo Ekitike? Now, we're going to break down each one of these strikers because everybody has different opinions about which one will work. In my opinion, the best of the three will be revealed later on the video, but I think they all have their own certain qualities that can fit each team. From what I can see from the reports so far, Arsenal, Chelsea, and Liverpool are the three teams that really need a 9. So what we're going to do in this video is we're going to break down how each player fits for each team and what are their qualities and what's their weaknesses. Now, this is totally unbiased. I've watched all three players fairly amount, and I'm going to break down what I think about them. Now, don't forget to hit the like, subscribe, leave a comment, because, as a young channel, we're trying to grow, and I appreciate everything. Now, with Arsenal, which I think is the team that everybody thinks Sesko and Gyokeres are linked with the most, I'm going to break down what I think about how Gyokeres would fit Arsenal. Because as we know with Arteta, he's really big on pressing, his players being committed to the team, good attitude, and everything I hear from Gyokeres is exactly like that. He's committed to play and doesn't really, let's say, fit the mold of an egotistical striker. Now, Maresca's the same way. He's a no-nonsense manager. If you're not going to play his way, you're not playing. And I think Ekitike and Sesko are the two players that are linked with Chelsea. And I think both of them also display really good discipline. So either or will be basically broken down. And then the last one is Arne Slot. Now, Slot has a very specific way of how he wants Liverpool to play due to getting Florian Wirtz and Mo Salah. You have two kind of creators, but you also need your striker to be able to drop deep and basically connect play. So we'll take a look on how each one of these strikers fare. Now, the first striker we're going to get into is Viktor Gyökeres. Now, he's been one of the hottest strikers this year. I should say even last year and the year before. Everyone talks about him, and we're going to do some myth busting. And I'm not doing this myth busting just to, crap on this guy, but I'm just going to basically shed some light on him because I feel like the narrative around Gyokeres is getting kind of out of hand. Now, the numbers scream out loud to people. If you don't watch the Premier League, you think that this guy's the next coming of Ronaldo, and I'm talking about CR7, because 39 goals, 29 goals, 21 goals in the championship. He's clearly a killer in front of goal, and he's averaging around 3 shots a game for the last season. That's what you want in a striker. So I can't really argue with that. And if you want to take a deeper look, I pulled up his FB reference numbers, and look at that. He's in the 90 percentile for everything in non-penalty goals, shots, assists, like outrageous. Now, you look at his passing and link up, it's kind of terrible if you think about it. Now, his carries and take-ons are elite, and progressive passes, that's exactly what you want to receive. But then look at his defensive attributes. Those are very poor. Now, I can't argue against his shot conversion rate. I mean, 28% is insane. And I have some clips here that I'm going to let play while I talk about him. What you notice from watching Gyokeres, at least in my opinion, is that the Portuguese league is not really a top 5 league. And there's a lot of space. Even if Sporting Lisbon is the #1 team, they don't get treated with the exact same respect as an Arsenal. Because I'm going to focus on Arsenal here. He's only linked there, really. And you don't get this type of space that you see he's running into. Now, I can't argue against this. This is elite playmaking, elite finishing, but how often does Arsenal get to play in this space? In my opinion, they don't. And they're going to face more low blocks than any other team besides Liverpool and City. And when you face low blocks, you don't have the time to run in behind and make a decision. You have to think quick. You have to have good link-up play. In my opinion, watching Gyokeres, his link-up play is almost as bad as Sesko, in my opinion. His touch is very loose. And in the Premier League, you don't have time to make a decision when your touch is loose. You have to be quick to get the ball out your feet. And Gyokeres doesn't give me that impression. And another thing that I found about him is that he's really a flat track bully. Just this past season, you can see this graph shows league position of his opponent on the x-axis and on the y-axis number of goals scored. He dominates the lower opposition. Against the top teams, he does not score. And maybe that works for Arsenal because they struggle against the mid-table, but long term, I don't know if he's the guy. Now let's switch over to Hugo Ekitike. Hugo Ekitike, to me, is probably my favorite striker out of three, but he is probably the biggest gamble. Actually, I would say Sesko is more of a gamble, but Ekitike, wow. In my opinion, I see baby Isak. Now, a lot of people will be like, yo, you're crazy. Like, Isak is insane. But keep in mind that Isak's last season at Real Sociedad, he only had 9 goals scored. But everyone saw how good he was. And if you watch Ekitike, you would see so as well. Now, his last season at Frankfurt was probably his best season in his senior career. 15 goals, 8 assists. Very elite link-up play. Clinical when he was in front of goal. The year before, 4 goals and 2 assists. Now, you'll look at that and be like, that is scary. One season and you're talking about this guy can be baby Isak, but keep in mind, look at his numbers at Real Sociedad. You would say the same thing if you didn't look at the hindsight now. Now, look at his football reference. That is somebody who's very well-rounded. And then you look at his defensive contribution. His interception season, the 86th percentile. That's what you want. That's what you want in a striker, somebody who's committed on both ends. And Ekitike fits that bill. Now, the one thing that's a little worrying is his conversion rates at 13%. And he takes around 4 shots per 90. Now, you will look at that and be like, but he's growing. He's 22. Let the guy get to his spots. I think his best attributes is his link-up play. Because when you see this guy drive with the ball, his touch, his ingenuity, everything about him reminds me about Isak. Like when I used to watch Sociedad games back in 2020 and 2021 before Isak came, you would see the brilliance. And Ekitike, he does that. And what's very well about this player is that his room to grow is boundless. And I think he fits well with either Chelsea or Liverpool because think about him linking with Wirtz and Salah or Enzo and Palmer. Those guys would make magic. In my opinion, Chelsea and Liverpool, this should be their number 1 guy. Now, we're going to talk about Sesko here. And in my opinion, he's my least favorite out of these 3. He is the biggest project out of all 3 and the biggest gamble. Because while he's 6'5", taller than both of them, and has the leaping ability of better than actually prime Ronaldo, it actually is worrying how he's actually regressing. And I'll explain right now. His last season at Salzburg, he had 16 goals. Then he moved to Red Bull Leipzig and had 14. Then this previous year, 13. So he's regressing scoring, which is actually the opposite if we want to see someone who's getting better. Now, his conversion rate is better than Ekitike, but he averages less shots, which is worrying for a striker. You want your strikers to average around 3 to 4 shots a game if they're in those type of leagues, especially the Bundesliga and the Portuguese league. But then this is even more worrying. Look at his football reference. Compared to what I just showed with Ekitike and Gyokeres, this guy looks like a scrub. Now, of course, the game's not played on graphs, but just look at that. Like, yeah, he's really good at aerial duels, but what is his link-up play? It's garbage. And something that I found about the previous season, the 23-24, he overperformed his XG in front of goal. And he only scored 14 goals. Deep that for a second. That's extremely worrying for somebody who doesn't score that much and is overperforming. There's going to be a regression. Now, I got a clip about how he's dominant in the air. I can't deny that. In an Arsenal team, that would fit. And I found some link-up plays that he was playing as Liverpool, and it looked clean. Now, I just want to make a note that this guy plays in a 2-striker formation with Openda. Now, Arsenal does not do that. They play with 2 wingers, and he has to play a lone striker. And I think with that raw link-up play, with his weak passing, I don't know how that fits with Saka and Martinelli and whoever they get in Arsenal. I'd be worried as an Arsenal fan to think we're trying to go for a title and this is the guy that is the number one target. I think Sesko is 2 years away from being who everybody thinks he could be. And I would not take that gamble if I'm Arsenal and Liverpool. Now, Chelsea, if they're still building, I get it. But Liverpool and Arsenal, they're trying to win a title. Liverpool just coming off of it. And I just don't see what he would provide going forward. Now, with each one of these managers, they have the capabilities to create chances. I mean, as you can see here, Liverpool finished with the most chances created. Chelsea were third, Arsenal fifth. In big chances created, Liverpool, Chelsea, Arsenal. They create chances, as you can see here. And touches, Liverpool and Chelsea are top three. You want that. And if you think about it, you have Enzo Fernandez and Cole Palmer, chance-creating machines. Martin Odegaard and Saka, chance-creating machines. And I can't forget the best player in the Premier League, Mohamed Salah. He's a chance-creating demon. Now, if you ask me who should get Gyokeres or where Gyokeres fits the best, it's Manchester United. You have a team that's going to be in transitions most of the time, and you have Bruno, Cunha, and potentially Mbeumo. He should go there. Now, if you ask me about Sesko, I think Sesko should stay another year at Leipzig. I don't think he's ready for the Prem. I think he'll be exposed. But if he does come to the Prem, I think maybe a Chelsea, maybe a Aston Villa, a team that's not ready to challenge should go for him. Not Arsenal at all. Now, Ekitike, Chelsea, Arsenal, Liverpool should be fighting tooth and nail for this guy. He has the link-up play and potentially the goal-scoring explosion that's on the way. And he resembles Isak, as I said. You saw the explosion. Now, you let me know in the comments who you think is the best out of the three and where they should go. And don't forget to hit the like, subscribe, notification bell, and leave a comment. And please keep supporting this channel. I really appreciate it. Thank you guys and girls.